rescuing these people?
I get you off a little bit. The pilot that's on there, him and I flew H-60s together.
Oh, I see.
Back at Cape Cod.
Okay.
So we started, so this is how far back I go
Wow.
with this particular
Okay.
aircraft commander, how
Wow.
seasoned he is. He's now flying the H-65,
Okay.
which we have, and that was what they were flying when they flew into
Wow.
Haiti. But they had the general on board, and what we mean by reconnaissance is, in that sense, they weren't rescuing anybody yet. They were trying to help the general provide him an overview, an aerial review, so he could see what the devastation was for his forces, his UN forces. And it became vividly clear to him that, wow, I've had a significant loss here. And then from that day, the next day that they got airborne, they actually started to do some of the medevacs of some of the critically injured personnel, and they were doing a couple of the landing zones. I remember he told me the first time, he goes, I've never seen this. He goes, we landed, he goes, we were touched down, and he goes, we were immediately swarmed. He goes, I had people spinning helicopter blades. He goes, they were walking right up to the helicopter and knocking on the glass. Yes, sir.
My goodness.
He goes, and my flight mechanic is trying to control everything, trying to control the chaos. He's like, I'd never seen that. He goes, it's not like I could pull power anything. And then he goes, then the better part, he goes, so the ambulance comes running up. He goes, next thing you know, he goes, there's the ambulance barreling at us, which is an old vehicle, an old truck. And he's like, it's bouncing over the ground, and it's bouncing over the ground. And his rotor blades are spinning there. He's like, he goes in, he pulls right up underneath. He pulls in underneath the rotor blades. I'm like, oh my gosh, Nick. He's like, that's what I was thinking. He goes, you're not. He goes, I just couldn't believe it. But it all worked together, and nothing happened. Next thing you know, the patient's offloaded. Every time he landed in that landing zone afterwards, it got better, and security was better. So he wasn't swamped after that. But
that's probably indicative of sort of the challenges that they were facing in that magnitude,
yes, sir.
And the inability to sort of keep order.
Absolutely.
This in terms of, unfortunately, everybody as old as Commander Travers or I, we've spent a lot of our careers working with the Haitian people, and they're extremely, we become familiar with their plight. We both served on cutters. I don't know if you were down in that region on a cutter. I was when I was on a cutter, and flying C-130s. We spent a lot of time doing missions to support the Haitian people, and they're very compassionate, friendly, determined people, and to think about what they suffered with the earthquake right here in the Western Hemisphere is significant. And I think Coast Guard people who have been in for a long time understand their plight, and are really honored to be part of the recovery. And we mounted a very swift response. I'm proud of the Coast Guard with our cutters, with our aircraft, from H-65s and C-130s to H-60s. Like usual, we were some of the first on scene. I think we take Semper Paratus, always ready, and we take a lot of pride in that.
So just to bring sort of in this section, are they still down there working, or are they off?
The crew, the helicopter is still down there.
Okay.
I've since sent another team of pilots and crew. We had planned to do that anyways, and the crew that was down there has since come back, and I got a chance to debrief with them, and it was even more moving because they had a PowerPoint presentation. They were taking me through their pictures and showing me everything, and they're forever changed. I mean, just by the whole thing of it, it was. I mean, just to hear his, you listen to him as far as when they were when the Comfort finally showed up, the U.S. Navy ship Comfort, and when everybody, all the 60s on the Navy ships, and everybody got in sync and they started to fly out. He's like, he goes, how we didn't, our training for everybody was just so in sync for all the services because the ships were in tight quarters. We had helicopters coming and going. We were getting into patterns. Just to listen to it in his eyes, it was just amazing. It was.
Well, do thank him for
the
crew.
We actually have a Travers City-based crew there now as well.
Wonderful.
They just got down, so we'll probably have updates in the next.
That'll be good to hear it.
So.
Will they be available? Is there a place that our residents can look at, or is that sort of kind of classified?
No,
and we'll hear
absolutely. I think when they get back, we'll look at the type of activity they were involved with, and if there's a way we can have a public forum, we'll certainly do that.
Great.
So,
and that's just such a touching thing on the humanitarian services. But some of the other things I assume are important. Since 9/11, has the corridors, the security issues, has that changed in the Upper Great Lakes?
I think it's safe to say I wouldn't want to focus it too much on the Great Lakes. I think nationwide, probably the most significant change for the Coast Guard and for the maritime environment is that we actually moved from the Department of Transportation to the Department of Homeland Security.
Right.
So we're now part of one department
Okay.
that's unified with a goal of preventing terrorist attacks, and if they do happen, hopefully that doesn't happen, and natural disasters as well.
Sure.
We're able to respond to that. So with that comes a true focus on homeland security and on the protection of people, vessels,
Mhm.
cargo, other conveyances, critical infrastructure like chemical plants, nuclear plants.
Wow.
But I would say that none of that is really new to the Coast Guard.
Okay.
We've been a safety and a security organization since our founding, our original founding back in 1790, and I don't think it has significantly impacted our frontline
Mhm.
activity levels because we're multi-mission qualified. We can shift from search and rescue to law enforcement to homeland security.
Very similar to what the
Um,
crew did in Haiti.
We pivot very
Right.
quickly on
Okay.
those missions, and so has it changed Coast Guard activity significantly? I think we share information better with operational partners. We have one unified mission in
Mhm.
the Department of Homeland Security, and it certainly helps with frontline coordination. But in terms of training and activity levels, I think that we're able to allocate our resources to the highest order needs at any time, whether they're security or safety related.
Very good.
So, I don't know if you have any
That's-
other thoughts.
No, I
on
think
that.
you
That's that's very good to know. And then so we've gone from sort of these very special, unique operations to a bit of discussion on security. Sort of the regular sort of tour is patrols for watercraft in peril, and how does that work? Do you assign a flight crew up every day? Is it sort of dependent on the weather or the season?
Sure. 4.5 million registered boaters in the U.S. are on the lakes. So I don't know if you knew that. That's about a third of all registered boaters in the United States.
It would be the 9th District Command.
Yes, sir.
That's
on all the
correct.
lakes. That's your
Wow.
lakes. Now,
Okay.
yeah,
That's
that's
on the Great Lakes.
Wow.
and it gets a little better because that doesn't include Canada. That's probably about another million. So you get about 5.5 million registered boats are
Wow.
up here on the lakes. That is how much activity is here. My air station, my 5-helicopter air station in Detroit with Lake St. Clair and Erie, we become the busiest 5-helicopter unit. No knock on
Sure.
Travers Sea. It's a little different
it's
with
busy.
everything because of concentration, but there's so much activity in the summer. I do
Right.
half my search and rescue cases in 3 months.
Wow.
That's how busy it gets.
So whether there's a lot of activities going on in Detroit with the different the summer festivals and the concentrations so you would be really from sort of Alpena all the way over to Cleveland and
Absolutely.
And,
most of the concentration
and,
for us is Lake St. Clair, Western Lake Erie.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get, but
Certainly.
we go all the way out to St. Lawrence,
Right,
Sea,
right.
as we had said. But most of it is concentrated right around the lake. And then obviously we share Lake Michigan and but Chicago. I mean, a lot
Right.
of the areas.
I was just trying to think through. That's a huge scope of responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Now, are there some pointers that you can use for sort of boating safety that our listeners should be concerned about or are prepared for if they ever have to engage with your services?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost is have a plan. Leave a float plan with somebody responsible, especially whether you're kayaking or powerboating or sailboating, whatever it might be. Tell somebody responsible on land where you're going, how long you're going to be gone for, and how they can reach you. Bring your cell phone, have a radio. Don't go out by yourself. It's always best to have a partner, and plan for the worst. If your boat sinks or you need help or the situation is beginning to appear dire, don't wait and wonder. Go ahead and call the Coast Guard right away so we can make an assessment and either get there ourselves or get a state or local responder on scene.
Sure.
But just the basics of having a plan, telling somebody where you're going, not going out by yourself can help,
Okay.
whether you're kayaking, boating, snowmobiling, whatever it might be. I think that's very important. So.
2 other points. Always wear a life jacket.
Yes.
I just cannot tell you. I mean, the water here, and I become amazed. And I'll make the second point: is leave the alcohol at home.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no business for it on
Right.
the lakes. And I think what I've seen, I've flown in Alaska, did 3 years up there, and the water here, even though some people think, oh, it's just a lake, it's not that much, it's just everything.
Oh,
It's
it-
treacherous. It's just cold.
Right.
There's not a lot of any tolerance there for that. I mean, you get cold quick. And having that life jacket just helps you out tremendously. And then, as John said, had a float plan, having a way to contact somebody, and a cell phone is not it. Some type of VHF radio or anything would really help out. So,
Okay.
And
Very
that's
good.
true for snowmobiling too. You
Oh,
should
yeah,
still
absolutely.
tell or hunt.
Sure,
tell
absolutely.
people, don't go by yourself. Tell people where you're going and when you're going to be back. So if you don't make it back, we want to take the search out of search and rescue.
Right.
That's our goal.